Hello and welcome back to my channel. This week's video I'm going to share with you 5 tips for managing a difficult member of staff. So have you ever lost sleep at night because you're having a difficult time at work with a member of your team? It's not uncommon. This comes up so many times in coaching sessions and workshops with managers and leaders. And if this is you, help is here. I'm going to share with you 5 tips that will help you be more confident in handling this kind of situation. But you know what I'm going to say before I share the good stuff. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell, and that way you'll get a new video from me every Friday filled to the brim with psychology-based tips to help you thrive and shine in work and life. I'm Hayley Lewis, I'm a business psychologist, and I have helped thousands of managers and leaders over the last 20 years grow in confidence, increase their motivation, and go to even better levels of performance and take their teams to better levels of performance too. So that I work with a lot of managers, and whether they are a first-time manager or they've got years of experience under their belt, they all have one thing in common. They all tell me they have a difficult member of staff who is difficult to manage. So here are my 5 tips to help you. Number 1, look at yourself first. So before I go any further, it's important to flag up that no one, well certainly no one I've ever worked with, deliberately goes to work to be difficult. The notion that someone is difficult to manage suggests it's nothing to do with you at all. It suggests that the fault lays completely at the other person's feet, and that's a lot of responsibility for them, because the responsibility for every relationship is a shared thing. It's 50-50, and so therefore surely it seems sensible to start with the one thing you have control of, and that's you. So how do you handle one-to-one meetings with the person concerned? What do you do in team meetings that they sit in? Do you kind of single them out? What's the tone of your emails to them? I'd like you to be really honest with yourself here, because one of the things that I find when working with people in conflict, or where there's some difficulties in the relationship, is that a vicious circle has developed. So the manager, you, dreads any meetings with the person, and this then colours the tone in any interaction. You know, it could be shouty emails. I mean, who doesn't love capital letters throughout an email in red font? Accusatory tone in meetings, not listening, you know, talking over the other person. And so the other person picks up on this and responds in kind, and so the vicious circle continues. So number 2 is assess the root cause. Don't take things at face value. Here you need to be that curious 4-year-old, you know, the one that tugs on your arm, who's constantly saying why. Pick 2 to 3 of the last negative interactions you had with this particular member of staff, and ask yourself, where did the interaction go wrong, and try to pinpoint where it took a point where it turned for the worse, and ask yourself why. And it may be that you pick up the same kind of theme across the interactions. For example, the exchange might have been about budgets, and when you've questioned, go on, admit it, maybe when you've interrogated them, they've got a bit defensive. And the more you think about it, the more you think that the root cause actually might be a lack of confidence around budget management, and that's just manifesting in a certain way. The root cause could be something completely unrelated to work. The person could have something terrible happening in their personal life that you're not aware of. They could be caring for someone, which means they're not getting a lot of sleep and they're tired, and this is impacting their work. and their mood, and subsequently it impacts their relationship with you. In short, dig down to find out what's going on, and don't make assumptions. Tip number 3 is confront, not confrontation. So the word confront seems to be a bit of a red flag to most managers I work with. So let's be clear, confronting is very different from being confrontational. So when you confront, you are clear, you are non-judgmental, and you maybe have a couple of specific examples to back up what you're saying. You give space to the other person to process what you've said to them. You listen to what they have to say, and you make it a two-way conversation. When it degenerates into a confrontation, what we tend to find is you might reel off a whole load of indiscretions, and once you start, you can't stop, and you're kind of rattling off everything bad you think that person has done since you first met them, and you don't pause for breath, and mainly because you're on a roll now, and you don't give the other person space or time to think, let alone respond. And in this instance, what you're going to get from the other person is fight, freeze or flight. You know, they'll either shut down in fear and go silent, they might leave the room in tears, or they're going to fight back, they're going to lash back at you. Tip number 4 is put yourself in their shoes. So there may have been a time in your own career when you went through your own difficult patch with a manager. Try and remember how that felt for you. How did things get resolved, assuming that they did? What did you do to kind of help things get back on track? What did your manager do to sort things out? And look, empathy and kindness are key to kind of breaking through some of the frost we see with difficult colleagues. And as the person in the hierarchical position of power, it starts with you making that first move. Don't mistake this for being a pushover though. This is the assumption that lots of managers I work with make at the beginning, namely that being kind and understanding equals being a soft touch, and that's not the case at all. Because if you're confronting the situation, remember tip number 3, you are most definitely not a pushover. But by going in with some empathy, you're going to ensure that you manage yourself and the situation a lot better and a lot more positively. And tip number 5 is ask the other person what they think. So yes, you can actually ask the other person what they think of the relationship with you. Shocking, I know. In my experience, not enough managers do this. Yet by asking the other person what they think can lead to some really important insights and kind of help things get back on track. And it also relates to the point I made in the first tip around you and looking at yourself first. The level of honesty with which they answer you on that question is dependent on the climate you've created for that conversation. So people need to feel safe and that they can trust you're not going to react badly to what they have to say. And you can set the scene by saying, look, I feel our relationship is going through a tough time, and I'd really like to know what you think we can do to get things back on track. I promise to listen to what you have to say, and I promise not to react badly. You just need to be constructive in your feedback to me. And conversely, if you're not confident in having this kind of conversation, or things have got so bad, then you can get a third party in to help. And this might be a member of your HR team or an external mediator. So why not grab my free guide, which gives you a framework for powerful conversations which will transform your work relationships. And so many managers I've worked with have said this has been an absolute game changer for them. And did you like this video? If you did, please give it a big old thumbs up. And I'd love to hear your comments. Were there any of these tips that you've tried out or that resonated? If so, pop your thoughts in the comments box below. And you know what I'm going to say, because I say it every week, you are filled with wisdom. So if you've managed to turn around a difficult member of staff, what worked? You know, what worked for you? Share your kind of experience in the comments box below so that others can learn from you. So that's it from me for now. I will see you in next week's video. Take care.